Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another mailbag Q&A show. I don't know what we're calling them these days. This is Stuff It, a fantasy basketball podcast. Brought to you as always by FanDuel and part of the Old Man Squad. Please go and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Give this video a thumbs up and download on the audio platforms. We're going to get into some questions. Probably not a lot. We don't get a lot of questions at this time. It is... What is the time? 8 p.m. here in Australia, which makes it 4 a.m. Eastern in the US. But there's people awake somewhere, so we will get into the questions. I will, depending on what questions I get, we might have a look at some quick injury news. Heading into tomorrow's games. And we'll just talk about the Zion Williamson sort of impact. We did touch on it this morning on the show with myself, Noah, and Thunder Dan, but didn't go into it in depth. And we actually saw today, I guess, what that tentatively looks like with some caveats, I suppose. But anyway, let's get into the questions. As I said, there won't be many. Do I think that Dyson Daniels gets some of his steals and blocks back? 3.1 steals last year. I'm assuming that's what we're looking at. Let me just bring up our friend here, Dyson. Oh, let's spell it properly. Oh, where are you? Where are you? Okay, here we go. Let's have a look at what he's been doing. He's certainly been better. So let's look at his numbers. So yes, he's at 2.3 so far this season through 22 games. That lines up with about what he's been doing the last 2 weeks. Okay, so he's settled into around between 2.5 steals, and he's sitting at 0.4 blocks, so close to 3. And you've got there, so his numbers last year, obviously he was at around 3 steals a game and 0.7 blocks. Are we getting those numbers back? No, I don't think so. I was never expecting him to get 3 steals again. That is pretty rare. If you look through history and all sorts of things, 3 steals a game is not something that happens very often. So, yeah, I didn't think he'd get 3. Did I have a number in my head? I don't really rely on him for blocks. So I know he was at 0.7 last year, 0.4 this year. I'm sort of happy with half a block from him, to be honest. It's more the steals. So I think if he can push to 2.5, that would probably be very, very, very acceptable. Where he's sitting now at 2.3, pretty happy with that. Let's just have a look at... I want the full season. Let's have a look at where he sits in terms of steals. So at 2.3, and I guess this is giving you a bit of context. At 2.3 steals, he currently leads the league in steals. So yes, he led last year with 3, but he was way ahead of anyone. So he's at 2.3. Cason Wallace is at 2.2. Keegan Murray is at 2.2. Now, that's obviously a very small sample size because he's only just come back. Mikal Bridges is actually giving us 2.1. And if we think back to his Phoenix days, that's actually where a lot of his value came from, was the defensive stats. So that's curious to see those back. We've got the regular sort of names in that top 10: Kawhi Leonard, Jalen Suggs, OG Anunoby, Marcus Smart, Reed Shepherd is actually there, as well as Trey Jones. So a very long answer to what's quite a simple question. Do I think we will get those numbers pushing back to what he was at last year, which obviously 3.1 plus 0.7 is 3.8? No. I think he probably is at 2.8, 3 at best, which is still super elite, but not where we saw him last year. The CP3 news is very interesting. Yes, so if you haven't read it, if you haven't seen it, Shams hasn't tweeted it. I don't believe, probably because he is asleep. I think it was Mark Spears, maybe. I know I retweeted something. Chris Haynes. Yeah, so I'll just read the tweet out. Los Angeles Clippers are sending home future Hall of Fame point guard Chris Paul in a bizarre severing ties move, league sources tell me. And I think Chris Paul tweeted out something as well basically this caught him off guard. He wasn't ready for it. Now, obviously, this has no impact in the world of fantasy because he was not even in the rotation most nights. And he's obviously well beyond being a valuable fantasy asset. This is more of a real life thing. The Clippers are just a bit of a mess at the moment. I know we sort of rag on Memphis and New Orleans and these teams, but Clippers are quietly sort of putting their name up in lights for all the wrong reasons. And it's strange in terms of the way it's happened, just that basically they've told him to go home. So it doesn't sound like they're terminating his contract. They've told him we don't need you with the team, which is it's strange. I would have thought, even if he's not in the rotation, having someone like Chris Paul to mentor the young players would be beneficial, but maybe there's more to this. Maybe Chris Paul has expressed his frustrations to the wrong people. I don't know. But given, and I tweeted this out as well, given he is arguably the best Clippers player ever, there's other names in that discussion, but he's certainly top five. It's just a very strange way to treat someone like that, and it does make you wonder that I think we sort of saw this as a swan song kind of, not a fairy tale ending, but a happy ending to his career, finishing up in Los Angeles where he did most of his damage. His jersey will be retired, all of that sort of stuff. How does this impact that? I mean, the club is telling him to go home. Does that leave a sour taste in his mouth where he refuses to then partake in those things? I don't know. So again, fantasy, who cares? Doesn't matter. But real life, it's a weird situation. So I would stay tuned anyway. I think there's probably more to come. All right, a few questions have come in. Brandon Ingram and Jarrett Allen for Jalen Green and Onyeka Okongwu. Ooh. I'd take Okongwu over Jarrett Allen. And I'd probably take Brandon Ingram over Jalen Green. So I think it's probably a fair trade, if that's sort of the question. Which side would I prefer? Possibly the Okongwu side, but I think it is fairly even. I'm just not the biggest Jarrett Allen fan, and I think we're already starting to see them experiment with alternative lineups. So, and Okongwu, obviously, if Kristaps Porzingis comes back eventually, he will move back to the bench, but he's still playing 30 minutes. He's still doing enough. And I just think Ingram has looked really good this season. He seems motivated. He's happy. He's on a team that is looking to win, seemingly. They don't have RJ Barrett at the moment. I think even once RJ Barrett's back, that doesn't really hurt Ingram at all. So, yeah, there's a bit of injury concern there with him, but Jalen Green is already out injured with his second hamstring injury of the season. So, I think I'd lean I'm talking myself into Ingram. I don't know. It's fair. Let's say that. I traded Jamal and Pritchard for Zach Edey and Dyson, punting points. So, yes. Yeah, if you're punting points, a lot of Pritchard's value comes from points and threes. Likewise for Jamal Murray. He has a little bit of value in other categories, but you've got potentially Edey's probably not going to lead the league in blocks, but he'll be right up there. And Dyson in steals. Dyson's a good rebounder. Zach Edey is obviously an elite rebounder. Field goal percentage for Zach Edey is very good. Yeah, look, I think that's fine. Yeah, very fine. Also have an offer for Trey Murphy for Jalen Green. No, I'd keep Trey Murphy. I'm assuming maybe you have Jalen Green because you mentioned him twice. So if that's the case, I would take Trey Murphy. Do I think that you should try to trade Reeves if you're punting points for someone? And if so, who do I think is reasonable? Austin Reeves. All right, let's have a look at where he's been very good. Pretty sure he's a first rounder still. He is. So he's currently a first round player. I don't think he's going to end as a first round player, but I think he could finish top 20. So if you're looking to move him for someone, I would look comparatively at a top 20 player, a second rounder. And if you're punting points, I mean, it depends what other stats you need. I don't think you'd get Jalen Johnson for him, but he would certainly be someone you could consider. I was going to say Scotty Barnes maybe might be a doable. They're quite similar in terms of overall value. Yeah, a lot of those guys. Yeah, Mikal Bridges, but I'm still not convinced that he is back, so to speak. So maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple for you anyway. Do I think Wemby will hit the 65 game mark? How many games has he played? Let's have a look. Wemby. He has played 12. No, I don't. Don't think so, no. We're 20 games into the season, so there's 65 games left. So he would... yeah, I still think he's out for another week at least, which is 3, maybe 4, 5, 6 games. So that brings us down to 60-ish games remaining. And he's played 12. So if he played every game, then he'd hit 72. Yeah, I don't think so. I think he comes in closer to 60. Should I trade AD, Reed Shepherd, and Keegan Murray to get James Harden and Jaren Jackson Jr.? Probably depends a little bit on your thoughts regarding Anthony Davis. Is this a move because you don't think he can stay healthy? If that's the case, then possibly because your primary goal is to get off of AD. If we're just looking at value rest of season, I wouldn't do it. I would keep AD, Reed Shepherd, and Keegan Murray if it was me. When do I think Paolo Banchero will be back? Let's see if we've got any updates. I don't think we do. I think maybe I read that they're doing some sort of evaluation soon. I think we're probably looking, it won't be this week, fairly certain. Maybe early next week, best case scenario. They're obviously not going to rush him. They're playing quite well. Desmond Bane's just chugging along nicely. So, yeah, I don't think they'll rush him. I would say next week, best case scenario. Should I trade Brandon Miller? Here that he's in danger of missing extended time. Yeah, this shoulder thing's sort of weird. He obviously hurt it earlier in the season. He came back. He looked pretty good, but then he had a weird 1 of 13 game. I think he took a hit on a screen, and the injury reporting has been kind of curious. So I think technically, let me just have a look. I feel like he's actually being ruled out. Like initially it was shoulder soreness, and I believe Yeah, I believe. Where are we? Yeah, so he's actually now being listed as left shoulder subluxation, that's the initial injury that he did. Does that mean he did it again? I don't know, because initially it wasn't listed as a subluxation. It was just listed as soreness. So there's been no indication that he did do it again, but the injury reporting, as we know from Charlotte, is weird at the best of times. So it is a little bit concerning that we haven't heard anything. Should you look to trade him? Well, I mean, trying to trade someone when they're injured is not the best time. If you could, I would say if you could get a top 50 player, I would consider that, because I think that's sort of where he settles once he's healthy and, well, if he gets healthy. So if you could move him for a top 50, top 60 player, then yes, I would do that. But I'm not sure anyone's going to give up that kind of a player at the moment. Okay, where are we? I can make some serious money on Robinhood. I have no idea what Robinhood is if I don't think he will hit the 65 mark. Upside for Ty Jerome and DeJounte Murray. Look, DeJounte Murray, I'm not even convinced he comes back this season. He's probably a top 100 player once he's back up and running, maybe top 80. It just depends how they're going to use him. There's a chance that he's managed, because they could have the third worst record in the league when he comes back. So why would they bring him back? And if so, why would they bring him back and play him 30 minutes? Yeah, I'm not sure there's a whole lot of upside for him at this stage. Ty Jerome, hang on, let's have a look at the issue with Ty Jerome is that there's Ty Jerome, there's Scottie Pippen, and there's Ja Morant, all basically playing the same position. Just want to have a look if we've got any, and I feel like Scottie Pippen and Ty Jerome are pretty similar in terms of their return. Yeah, okay. So we're probably, we're looking at next year before either of them are back, I think. Ja Morant will be back before that. He's probably rosterable top 120, maybe. If Ja Morant leaves and Ty Jerome's starting, then more upside. But based on the roster now, I don't think there's a whole lot of upside. Who are we stashing here? Eason, Brown, or Neesmith? Personally, I'd probably go Eason, I think. Yeah, Neesmith's fine. I think if you're just looking purely for upside, that's usually what you would be looking for from a stash. It would be Eason. Brown is fine, but Brown is Brown. Where I think Eason, he wasn't great to start the season. I'm not going to sugarcoat that, but I do think that he has the most upside of those three. Should I trade Hero to get Porzingis? Well, as much as I don't like Tyler Hero, I don't think I would do that. Porzingis has missed, how many games? A lot. Let's have a look. Kristaps Porzingis. And I know Hero has missed a lot of games, but it was for an injury. Porzingis is out. Basically, they find any reason under the sun to rest him. He's only played 12 games so far. Per game, he is the preferred player, but maybe you get 40 games out of him for the remainder of the season, where I think Tyler Hero, as long as he doesn't aggravate that injury or anything, then you probably get 60. So, yeah, I would hold on to Hero there, I think. Here we go. What's the status of Castle and Wemby? Do they have a chance to play? So they came out today and said that they are not travelling with the team. There's a chance they will join the team during the week, but it doesn't mean they will play. So to me, that doesn't indicate that they will play. Let me just have a look at the schedule. All right. Oh, no, I don't want that. I want the start it from tomorrow. San Antonio Spurs. So they play. Oh, no. What was it doing? Show games from the 3rd. Oh, it's thinking. There we go. Okay, so the Spurs play tomorrow. Again, tomorrow's Wednesday. Tomorrow against the Magic, Friday against the Cavaliers, and then they don't play till Monday against the Pelicans. So I would say Wednesday, Friday, definitely not. I don't think they will come back. Monday, best case scenario, but that's obviously next week, not this week. That would probably be the best case. The following Wednesday, so next Wednesday, they play the Lakers. Maybe that's a game they target. So I would say definitely not this week, potentially Monday, more likely Wednesday next week, or even towards the back end. Who would we pick up here, Collier or Schroeder? I think Collier is probably slightly safer. Is he, though? I don't know. Neither of them are super appealing. I mean, Collier's healthy. Schroeder is coming off an injury, so I guess Collier, because he's playing. Schroeder can be very good, and he can be absolutely terrible as well. And on this Sacramento team, I mean, God, who knows? So I'll go Collier slightly. Has there been an update on Ja Morant? Not that I've heard. No, I would assume we're close-ish, but haven't heard anything in terms of dates. Why is Pirtle being so bad compared to previous years? Good question. Let's have a look. I didn't think he'd been that bad. I actually didn't get him in any leagues this year. He was talked up quite a bit, so why didn't he come up there? So I just missed out on him. Okay, Jakob Pirtle. I know he was bad to start the season. He was dealing with a back injury. He was trying to play through it. He came back. He missed time. He came back. I think since he sort of took a bit of time off and has come back, he's looked a lot better. So he's top 70 over the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, you're right. The numbers are not great at all, actually. Just looking there. Yeah. I mean, his numbers aren't terrible. Like, he's certainly not a drop. I don't think you can trade him because you just won't get any value back. He had a period there. I've got his box scores up here. He had a period from sort of mid or early November through to mid to late November, where he, I mean, I'm not going to do the maths, but he probably averaged during that 6-game period, I want to say maybe 16 points, 9 rebounds. Yeah, look, the steals and the blocks. I mean, the reasons that his value is down, if we want to translate this into rank, is that his defensive numbers are down. So he's blocking 0.7, 0.6 shots per game, where he's always been around that 1.2, 1.3. So he's half his block rate. The steals are okay. The rebounds are fine. The assists are fine. The percentages are fine. He's actually shooting 72, 73% from the field. I think it's just the team he has around him now. The addition of because he was very good last year, but you have to remember there was no Brandon Ingram last year. He was there, but he didn't play. Emmanuel quickly missed a big chunk of last season, so they really didn't have a high usage point guard. It was Scotty Barnes and it was RJ Barrett. That was it. Now Pirtle's gone from sort of the third option to the fifth, quite clearly the fifth. And that's why. So I think we were hoping that his defensive numbers would be better, and I think he probably does push back up to, I mean, he's at 1.4 combined steals and blocks at the moment. I think he pushes back to 2, which will sort of push him inside that top 70 range, and maybe that's where you drafted him. I don't know. Dyson Daniels and Toumani Camara starting to fulfill their value. They're getting better. I mean, Dyson definitely. Where is Toumani Camara? So I always keep one eye on Toumani Camara because I know that he's a pretty sort of divisive player when it comes to fantasy. So today he had 21 points, 7 rebounds, a steal, a block, 6 threes. Game before that, 0 steals, 0 blocks, but he had 19 and 8 with 5 threes. So I think the offense is starting to come around. It's on the defensive end. Everything is fine. I mean, comparing his numbers to what he did last year, points are up, rebounds are about the same, assists are up, blocks are the same. So the steals have fallen from 1.5 to 1, and the efficiency has fallen from 40. I mean, he was 45 in his first season. He was 46 in his second season, and then this season he's 41. So I think that'll bump back up to 43, 44, which will sort of but help that efficiency problem. And the steals, I feel like the steals will come around. Does he get up to, what did I say he was last year, 1.5? Does he get to 1.5? Maybe not, but 1.3 with 0.7, 0.8 blocks. Then again, you're looking at a guy that's giving you 2 combined defensive stats. So yes, I think he's starting to come around, and Dyson obviously is coming around, but we're waiting to see what the return of Trae Young does for him. But we're still a few weeks away, so don't have to worry about that. Why the week 8 having 1 games only most of the team? So why? I'm assuming that question is. Let me just bring this up. I know the answer. If it's. I just want to pop it up on my screen here. Yeah. Okay. So week 8, which is so starting next Monday, which is the 8th. Yeah, 8th of December. Why do a lot of the teams only have 1 or 2 games? It is because of the NBA Cup. Because they've got the final, like the semis and stuff where teams go to Vegas. And so, there's on Monday next week, there's only 3 games. On Tuesday, there are 2. Wednesday, there are 2. Thursday, there's 4. And then we sort of return to normal for a day. And then Saturday, there's nothing. So, that's why. It's because of the NBA Cup. Peyton Watson or Jay Huff? Ooh. Matt Carmody bringing the fire. Ooh. I would say Peyton Watson unless you need blocks. If you're really focused on blocks, I'd go Jay Huff. If blocks are sort of secondary or they're just, they're nice, but I don't need them, then I think I'd go Peyton Watson. Worst players on my team are Nurkic and Huff. I need to drop one when Grayson comes back. Who do I drop? Again, it probably comes down to blocks. Yeah, if you're desperate for blocks, I would hold Huff. But otherwise, I think I'd hold Nurk because he does a bit more. He can get you out of position assists, some steals. Huff obviously hits some threes, but Nurk has been extending his range a little bit. So I think if blocks are secondary, go Nurk. But in saying that, by the time Grayson comes back, there might be someone else injured on your roster. Will Amen Thompson and Evan Mobley turn it around? Well, I think Mobley's started to turn it around already, hasn't he? Yeah, look, I'm going to say yes to Mobley because I think the return of Darius Garland, we've already seen the impact that it's had. So, yeah, I mean, over the last week, he's the 15th ranked player. And that's not really doing anything unsustainable. 20 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.3 blocks, 0.7 steals. I think that's pretty sustainable. So I think he's probably, if we wanted to say where will he finish, he was being drafted, top 30? Maybe top 25. I'm not sure he hits that mark. Maybe he pushes inside the top 30, probably top 40. Amen Thompson, who we were taking pretty early. I know I took him borderline first round in a lot of leagues, but I was also punting a lot of categories, so that impacts a little bit. But the majority of us, I think, when we drafted Amen Thompson, we weren't expecting him to be the starting point guard in Houston. So things have changed there. I think he's been okay. I'm not looking to move off him because of the perceived opinion that he's not playing well. So he's 90th, top 50 over the last month. Yeah, and I think Josh Lloyd actually talked about this on his show, I don't know when it was, a couple of days ago, about the fact that his efficiency has dropped, and I think that's to be expected. His finishing at the rim is way down. I don't have those advanced numbers in front of me, but I know his finishing at the rim is way down. But on the other hand, his free throws are way up. So he's at 78% from the line this year, which I didn't draft him for that reason, but it's nice. The rebounds are okay. Again, he's playing further from the rim more consistently, and they're also running with bigger lineups with Steven Adams, that sort of thing. So his rebounds have come down a little bit. Assists have gone up. Yeah, starting point guard. Steals exactly where they were last year. It's just those the blocks. He's down to 0.5 from 1.3 last year. He did block 2 shots in yesterday's game. And from what Josh said, if I remember correctly, it was something along the lines of he is still contesting as many shots as he was last year. He's just not blocking them. So that would sort of tell me that probably comes back closer to 1. And then he probably, a little bit like Mobley, probably finishes inside the top 40. Is Butler's injury serious? Not that I'm aware of. Where are we? Yeah, they haven't determined any status for the next game. Who is the best player to stream? Well, Curry is also out, and they've said he will miss at least another 3 games. So if Butler misses, of the players that are available, I mean, Gary Payton's been playing really well, so you could take a flyer on him. Will Richard starting. Pajemski and Moses Moody are the 2 obvious ones because with Steph out, they probably should have been picked up anyway. Seth Curry, he played today. He looked okay, but he shot 6 of 7 from the field. That's not going to happen very often. So I'm not really interested in Seth Curry. Buddy Hield, you either get 20 points or 3 points with him. But he's really just threes and points, nothing else. I mean, do they shuffle everyone down a bit and play a bit more Quinton Post? I don't think this is a situation where there's one player to add because I think, as I said, Pajemski and Moody probably were picked up anyway with the Steph Curry injury. So I don't think there's sort of a 1-for-1 kind of replacement here. Ryan Kalkbrenner or Nemesh Keita? Ooh. My gut tells me, I think my gut tells me Keita. Kalkbrenner, if you need blocks, probably has a little bit more upside in blocks. But other than that, I think I'd go Keita. His ceiling isn't super high, but he's just really reliable. So yeah, I think I'd go Cater there. Did we do that one? Oh no, we didn't do that one. I don't think. Trade Kawhi Leonard and Peyton Pritchard for Trey Murphy and Mikal Bridges. Yes, I would do that. Trade Dyson Daniels for Shaden Sharp and Cam Thomas. Ooh. Well, what do you need? Because if you're getting rid of Daniels, you're losing a lot defensively, but you're gaining a lot in points and threes and free throws. So I'd be okay if you're able to absorb the loss of steals with some other players on your roster, then I'd be okay doing that. Just keeping in mind that Shaden Sharp has been injured and Cam Thomas is currently injured. So you're probably going to take a loss initially, but in a month, maybe that's a win. What are my thoughts on Keegan Murray and Trey Murphy rest of season? Should I sell high for potential drops? I don't know if I would. Zion's out for a month, probably. Keegan has been really the only positive to come out of Sacramento. So they're finally doing what I've been calling for 2 years, which is to actually give him a role on the team. And he's showing what he can do. So, yeah, look, obviously there is some risk with both of these teams, but I'd be okay holding it, only because I don't think I'd move Keegan for a top 40 player and same for Trey Murphy, but I'm not sure you'll get one back. So I'd be okay. Do I think any teams will try and sign Chris Paul? I guess theoretically they might. I mean, he may just retire. He may just call it quits here. Even if they do, I don't think he's going to play a role. I don't think any team would bring him in to actually play. I'm just trying to think if there's any teams. I guess Memphis is someone that just because they don't really have a point guard at the moment. I mean, in a funny kind of weird nostalgia, whatever, does he go back to New Orleans and just help Jeremiah Fears? Maybe. He started in New Orleans, so that would be weird. Yeah, so maybe, but I don't. It's not going to impact fantasy, I don't think. Would I send Pritchard and Tobias Harris for OG? Tobias Harris, fine. Yeah, look, yeah, I think I probably would do that. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I mean, Anunoby is the best player there. Yeah, I'd be okay doing that. Why did Moody get 14 minutes with no Butler and Curry? I actually can't answer that one. Was he in foul trouble? I don't know. Let me just have a look. I was watching this game on and off, and I watched the end. I feel like without actually knowing, I know he didn't have any foul issues. Look, I mean, this is not unheard of in Golden State. Steve Kerr will just run with a different lineup. I think it was because, and this is, again, based on watching the end of the game, the fact that Gary Payton and Pat Spencer were just playing really well and basically dragged the Warriors back into the game in the third quarter. So I think he just went with the players that were hot. I think that's all it was. So he could come out and play 30 minutes in the next game. Is Ace Bailey a hold in 12-team Cats? I don't think he is, no. Who would I add out of these three in a 12-team? Dunn, Trey Jones, McBride, any have long-term value. Which Dunn do you mean? Do you mean Chris Dunn or Ryan Dunn? McBride has value until OG is back, and then you can drop him. Trey Jones has value until Kobe White is back. Kevin Huerter is also out. Will probably miss time. I think, okay, so it's Chris Dunn. I think Huerter will miss time. He's got an adductor injury, I believe. Where's a hamstring? Okay, so Huerter probably misses a week, at least 2. Kobe White, this is the other calf. It's a bit worrying. So of the 3 of those guys at the moment, Chris Dunn, no. He's a streamer. That's all he is. Trey Jones would probably be my preference there, slightly over McBride with Dunn 3rd. Do I believe that Jakob Poeltl can still be a top 60 player? Probably best case, but I wouldn't count on it, no. If they got some injuries, then maybe, but if they can remain relatively healthy, I think he's probably just outside the top 60. Would I drop Tobias Harris for Davion Mitchell? In a Roto League, I need assists. Yep, I'd be okay with that. Thoughts on Triple J rest of season? Oh, God, how long have you got? I'm going to bring up his numbers so that I'm not just speaking from my gut. All right, so Jaren Jackson. Make sure I'm looking at the right page. Sometimes it tricks me. Yes, I am. So 129th for the season, 160th over the last month. Over the last 2 weeks, he's blocking 0.2 shots per game. To me, this is all to do with the fact that they have no point guard. And Zach Edey is back and playing very well. It's all a recipe for Jaren Jackson being forced to do more offensively and not having the opportunities defensively. So the points are okay. He's sitting at 18 points a game at 47%. And that's for him, that's actually about right. He's never been an efficient scorer. He's a terrible rebounder, 5 rebounds for a guy his size. And again, and he was bad even when Zach Edey wasn't there. So now having a guy there that's getting 15 rebounds a night. So he's a poor rebounder. And the blocks just aren't there. Are they coming back? Yes and no. I think maybe he gets to 1.2. So he's not someone I drafted anywhere. I had some concerns. I didn't think he'd be this bad, and I'm fairly certain he'll be better. But I think he's probably a top, I would say top 50 is best case scenario for him. There may be a period where he does put up top 30 value, and that's when you look to move him. I think probably top 60 is where he settles in. Is Hunter a hold? Yeah, I think so. He goes through these periods where he's just not shooting the ball well, and that's the issue with him, is that he doesn't have a lot to fall back on. But I'm okay holding. I'm holding him. So if that helps, I'm holding him in a couple of leagues because prior to this sort of little down period, he had actually been pretty consistent this season. So yeah, I'm okay holding him. All right. Well, that was a lot of questions. I'll quickly touch on the Zion stuff because I did put it in the heading for the show. So with Zion gone for, let's say, a month, let me bring up their depth chart here. And we saw them play today. Who are the ads? Derek Queen should be rostered anyway. So, yes, he's an ad if he's available. If you have him on your roster, this, I think, just solidifies him as a hold. I know there were a few questions before today, but he was pretty good today. The plus minus is an issue. It has been. But hopefully the Pelicans, their mindset sort of flips to let's develop these players rather than trying to win. So, yes, Queen is a hold. Do remember that Eve Nisi was not available today. So that he's not good either. But him being available impacts Queen. So Queen won't play. I think he played 30. I feel like it was a lot of minutes. I wrote his player blurb. 38, 37, something like that today. 39 minutes. So that's not going to happen. He'll be more, I think, in that 28 to 30 minute range. And so he's rosterable. The big winner for me, I think, is Sadiq Bey. He's been really good. I think he's top 30 over the last week or two, last week, top 70 over the last 2 weeks. He's been getting double-doubles. He's getting steals. He's hitting threes. So I think he is the big winner here. If he's available, I doubt he is, but if he's available, I would absolutely go and pick him up. Trey Murphy should be rostered anyway. It gives Herb Jones a little more security when he gets back. So if he's available, maybe you just grab him and see what he does when he returns. But Jordan Poole also has to come back and is quite close. So he'll impact things there as well. But yeah, I do think Queen and Sadiq Bey are probably the two biggest winners. And I guess Eve Meesey to a lesser extent. Do I think Queen or Nurkic is going to be better rest of season in a points league? Max my center spot, so I can only have one. Rest of season, I think it's probably Queen. For the next month to 2 months, it could be Nurkic. We don't know when Utah are going to make that flip. Well, we're assuming they're going to make that flip or that switch from Nurkic to Filipowski. I think, either if you drop Queen or Nurkic, I'm fairly certain they'll be picked up straight away. So it's probably not a situation where you can drop one and just go and add them again. It's a tough one. I think I'd go with Queen just. Is Scoot Henderson relevant? Yeah. I mean, do we even know when he's coming back? Where are you, Scoot? Drew will be back before him, I think. Look, I think he's relevant. I think he's certainly worth keeping an eye on. Maybe you can stash him if you've got an empty IR spot. Ceiling-wise, I think for him, I was sort of high on him coming into the season, but because he's missed so much time, Drew Holiday has really established himself as their point guard and someone who wants to be there. So the latest news on Scoot was from 2 weeks ago, reevaluated in 2 to 4 weeks. So potentially there's a reevaluation coming. I still think he's probably a couple of weeks away. And his ceiling, best case is top 100. Also mentioned Zach Edey. All right, let's mention Zach Edey. All right, he's very good, isn't he? For whatever reason, I don't know if this is just me, I'm forever comparing him to Donovan Clingan. I think they were just drafted together. They're similar in terms of their style of play. To me, Zach Edey is far better than Donovan Clingan, and we saw that today. We've seen it all season with Donovan Clingan. He is unplayable at times, even when he's playing well. Where Zach Edey, I think you can just play him 30 minutes. His ceiling is a lot higher. So I think he's probably a top 40 player rest of season. Top 50. Floor is probably top 60, and could he be top 30? Maybe. It'll depend on Memphis and what they're doing, but I'm really high on him at the moment. I love what he's doing. Is Zach Collins an ad in a 20-team league? Is he back? I don't think he's back. Oh, he might be questionable, is he? I feel like maybe he's questionable. Where is he? He is questionable. In a 20-teamer, yeah, maybe. Assuming Jalen Smith is out. If Jalen Smith isn't out, so if he's if they're both available, probably not. But if Jalen Smith is out, then you could have a look at Zach Collins. He's missed a lot of time, but this, was it a foot injury? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not convinced. But if Jalen Smith is going to miss some time and Collins comes back, then, yeah, you could take a bit of a flyer on him. Can I show my shirt? Yeah, I can show my shirt. It is Dumb and Dumber. It's some weird... it is a Dumb and Dumber shirt. I have way too many shirts. I have a pretty eccentric shirt collection, actually. My wife's always trying to thin it out a little bit, unsuccessfully. Came across my channel through Josh, through the mailbag. Oh, yeah, because I did the mailbag with Josh. What's the background to my relationship? Look, very quickly, I can give a background. So I've known Josh for 10 years, maybe. So he was just the guy, I guess, that when I first got into fantasy, I came across podcasts, and I came across so it's his show and Dan Besbris's show. They were the two that I came across to start with, and obviously Josh being Australian, which I picked up on straight away. And I messaged him. I think on Twitter or something, probably. I just messaged him and said, "Hey, I'm looking to start out in the business. Any advice?" And he gave me a few tips. But I actually went down. So I live in Canberra. He lives in Melbourne. So we're about 7 hours apart. But I have friends that live down there. So I think I was going down there for something. I can't remember what it was. And I messaged him and I said, would you be able to meet up? And we had a couple of beers and some lunch. And he basically stepped me through how he got into the business through RotoWire. He gave me the contact for the person that because he'd left RotoWire at that time and gone into Basketball Monster and Locked On Fantasy and that sort of thing. But he still had the connections. So he gave me the contact details. I reached out to RotoWire and I said, hey, I'm just interested in doing something. So they got me writing player blurbs, which I still do every day. I write player blurbs for RotoWire. It's a really good way to stay on top of everything because I have to cover all the games. So I still do that, and I write articles for RotoWire as well. So I put them up on Twitter. So that was how I got into it, and then I guess Josh and I just stayed in touch. Look, being Australian, that probably helps because we're awake at the same time, and we have similar interests outside of basketball as well. So yeah, we just stay in touch. We text pretty regularly. And we've been to Vegas, not together, but we've been to Vegas a couple of times at the same time to watch Summer League. So we hang out a bit over there. Now, obviously, he's many, many rungs ahead of me or above me on the ladder. He's sort of right at the top, and I'm nowhere near the top. But yeah, look, I'm happy to be associated with him. And same goes for Dan Besbris. Obviously, I'm working very closely with Dan now in Old Man Squad. So, that's how I met Josh and sort of what our connection is. Is this my full-time job? No, it is not my full-time job. I have to do this on the side. I have two other jobs. They're pretty closely related, not to basketball, not to fantasy basketball. So my primary job, I suppose, is that I work with autistic kids and their families, and I support them at school, and I do a lot of training in the community with workplaces, families. There's a national autism sort of information service in Australia, which I run that. And I have a team here where I'm based that run my groups and things for me as well. So very sort of prominent, I suppose, in the autistic community here where I live. And then my other job, which is related to that, is that I coach kids with disability. So I go and coach all different sports and help existing clubs and schools to be more inclusive. So that's my day job, is working with kids and families with various disabilities and a lot of stuff in schools and things. And then I do the basketball stuff usually in the morning or in the afternoon when I get home. Is Robert Williams roster worthy in a 12 team? I picked him up today. Was that a 12 team? Look, he's probably not, because he's just in and out so much. So I still view him as a streamer. If you're punting a lot of categories, then maybe. So I'm in the league I picked him up in. I'm probably punting points, threes, assists, and free throws. So I just need rebounds and blocks, and he only needs 20 minutes to get me 2 or 3 blocks and 8 rebounds. So the issue is that he doesn't play back-to-backs and has random days off. So I don't think he's must roster, but I think he's not out of place in a 12-team league. Drafted Jalen Johnson in round 3 and Tyler Hero in round 10. Are you the GOAT? You did well. Yeah. I mean, Jalen Johnson's been phenomenal. Tyler Hero, people were cautious on him because of the injury thing, but yeah, you've done really well getting him there. How many games a week do I watch? Ooh. Full games. I watch a lot of the condensed games. It's just, I mean, it's not possible to watch every game when I have a full-time job as well. I would say I probably watch maybe 10 full games, and then I watch pretty much every condensed game. So that's like a 10-minute version or a 15-minute version of a game. So my wife goes to bed very early, 9:30. So I don't go to bed till 12-ish. So I normally get 2-3 hours in the evening where I can sit and go through those games in a little bit more detail. And I do work from home as well, so sometimes I can have a game on in the background while I'm working. Does Zach Collins returning in the near future have any impact? Not really, not as long as Vooch is healthy, I don't think. Styles of Beyond, welcome. If I had to sell KP desperately, what would I look for? Top 80? Well, you go as high as you can. I'd want better than top 100. I'd probably want better than top 80. But if you're desperate, and if you're buying low on someone, like maybe you could try and get Jaren Jackson. That's buying low. But you're sort of selling low with Porzingis as well. So if you need to move him now, it's going to be tough. If you can wait until he comes back, wait for him to play a few games. This whole illness thing worries me a little bit, because obviously he missed a lot of time last year with an illness. And there hasn't been a lot of information provided from the Hawks as to what this is. He's being ruled out in advance. So there's a few red flags there. Hopefully it's nothing. But yeah, look, go as high as you can. Top 80, I guess, is probably, that'd be my floor. I wouldn't want to go below that. Favorite food is pizza. Yeah, I think it's pizza. I'm trying to think if there's something else. I mean, I like all food. There isn't really anything I don't eat. But no, I do like pizza, and I do like, what else do I eat a lot of? Well, I like a certain chicken. There's a fast food sort of chain here where I live, and it's not even national. It's just where we live, called Kingsley's Chicken, and I do love their chicken. Any chance Okongwu will start when Porzingis is back? Maybe initially, because they may. Again, I don't know what this illness is, but if it's one that's going to impact Porzingis' sort of stamina and cardiovascular stuff, then maybe. But long term, like if they're both healthy, both playing, no, I think Porzingis start. There's a chance they start next to each other on occasion, but generally speaking, no. Grayson Allen, rest of season, he's rosterable. I think if Jalen Green comes back and he's healthy, and Booker, obviously he's out at the moment as well, fully healthy roster, he's probably top 120. So you just hold him and just see. I mean, they may have an injury all season. What's the level of worry on Brandon Miller? Yeah, there's worry. As I said, the injury now is being listed as subluxation. It was soreness initially. So there's a little bit of concern. I'm hoping they give us some sort of indication as to, is this a multi-game thing or a day-to-day thing? They haven't really said much yet. And that's Charlotte. I mean, we have no faith in them. So, yeah, there is a little bit of concern there, I think. Are those board games? Yes, they are. What's my favourite one? It's Lord of the Rings Trivial Pursuit, but no one will play it with me. Planning to trade Trey Young in a 20-team league. Who would you be targeting? Oh, look, I still think he's a top 25 player. I'd still be aiming for a second rounder, I think. And his Huff's recent output sustainable. It'll be up and down. I'm not going to say he's going to block 3 shots a game for the rest of the season. I feel like there'll be a period where they probably do go with Isaiah Jackson again, but Huff is clearly better than him. So I think he could be rest of season rosterable for the rest of the season. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, it'll be up and down. It's the Pacers. Fears or Drummond? Fears, I think. Yeah, it comes down to Embiid, doesn't it? And they're very different. So what do you need? Do you need guard stats or do you need big stats? Trey for Denny. I think I'd be okay with that, actually. Trey. Yeah, I think I'd be okay with that. Trade Ace for KPJ. Yes, I would do that. And what's my strategy on selling players on shutdown teams? You have to do it now if you're going to do it. Yeah, shutdown, it's a tricky word, isn't it? Which teams are going to shut down? Look, the obvious ones are like your Washington, Utah, Brooklyn, I guess the Pelicans, the Wizards. But anyway, I don't get sometimes the whole shutdown thing because it's not like Washington are winning. So why do they need to shut players down? And it's usually going to be your veterans. So your Chris Middleton, CJ McCollum, Lowry Markkanen, I guess. In Brooklyn, we thought it would be Nick Claxton last year, but he played the season out. Michael Porter Jr. would be probably a good one. And even if it's not a shutdown, it could be that they're traded. So now is probably when you want to be doing it in December because though you can start to get that drop-off in January. Could the Clippers blow it up? Maybe. The worrying thing is that the Thunder have their pick. So if they do blow it up and move off players like that, and it ends and they go, there's just no reason for them to tank, I suppose, for lack of a better term, because they don't have their pick, and there will be, I can almost get teams talking in their ear saying, do not tank, because if you tank and get the first pick, that means the Thunder get the first pick next season. And that's scary. So I don't know if they do blow it up because I just don't know what's in it for them. Who should I cut first in a 14-team league? Casey Wallace team. It wouldn't be Clowney. It wouldn't be McConnell. It'd be Demon or Wallace. I'd be okay cutting Wallace if you don't need steals. Any injuries worth grabbing now? Oubre, Scoot, Poole. Poole, I'd grab. He's probably the only one. All right, I'm going to get out of here because it's been an hour and I need to go and say goodbye to my daughter. I think she's heading away for the weekend. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Way more questions than I thought, which great. I will be back with the weekend wraps and the mailbags next week and maybe a show with Dan on Friday. I'm not sure. Anyway, it'll be on Twitter. That's where you find all my stuff. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm Adam King. This has been Stuff It, a fantasy basketball podcast. We are done.